Today's recipe calls for pickled red onions. I'm going to show you how to make the best steak tacos out there. So with that said, let's get started.
The first thing we're going to do is make the garnish for our taco. So you're going to take one medium-sized potato and you're going to cut it right in half. And we're going to make small wedges of potato. You're going to cut little wedges that are about a 1/4 inch thick. Now that you have your 1/4 inch wedges, you're going to make a small stack and cut them into little sticks. You're going to cut your little sticks into about 1/4 inch thickness as well. You're going to repeat this same process for your entire potato. In the end, this is what your potato sticks should look like. Now that you have all of your potatoes cut, you're going to grab a holding apparatus and fill it up with some cold water. We're going to rinse off as much starch as possible. So once everything is in there, use your little fingies and be the human washing machine and shake them around to get off more starch. Your water is going to be super cloudy, which is a good thing because that's all the starch, of course. And once you've played around with it for a bit, go ahead and give them a quick rinse under the faucet and strain off all the excess water. Now that we have all of our potatoes strained and drained, you're going to grab a half sheet tray and throw down a clean kitchen towel and throw your potatoes right on top. And you're going to lay everything in a nice even layer so everything is exposed to the air, so this way they dry out. Once you have them all layered, you're going to pop these right in the fridge. We're going to start making our own homemade tortillas. You can either make flour tortillas or corn tortillas. I have videos for both. If you're making flour tortillas like I did in the last video, we did a traditional flour tortilla using lard, but instead we're going to change it up today. And we're going to use 1/4 cup or 59 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil. I like olive oil tortillas because they seem a little bit more chewier and a softer texture. Now that we have a nice soft tortilla dough ball, we're going to start to weigh them out. I found that 35 grams or 1.20 ounces was the perfect size for our tacos. After you get them all weighed out, you're going to let them rest and then you're going to cook them off so we can move on to the next step. And here's a little pro tip for you. Once you have all of your tortillas cooked off, throw them in a clean kitchen towel and wrap them like a little present and throw them in a bowl with a lid so that they stay warm and it keeps them soft. Now that our tortillas are done, we're going to move on to the next step and start to fry our potato sticks. So in a medium-sized saucepan with a heavy bottom, you're going to throw it over medium to high heat. You're going to add 2 cups or 473 milliliters of deep frying oil and start to fry your potatoes. Once the temp hits 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius, we're going to start to fry our potatoes in batches. It's really important to fry your potatoes in batches. This way we don't overcrowd the pan and it won't drop the temp on our oil too low. Once you've gently added your potatoes to your frying oil, you're going to give it a quick stir a time or two. This will help prevent anything from sticking together. This way we get a nice even cook on all of them. You're going to fry your potatoes for about 3 to 4 minutes or until they become nice and golden brown in color and they have a crispy and crunchy and crusty texture to them. You're going to strain them and get off as much of that oil as you possibly can. And once they come out of the fryer and they're nice and hot and still have a little bit of oil on them, you're going to season them with some kosher salt and repeat the same process for the rest of your little spud Mackenzies. Now that all of our starchy sticks are cooked off, we're going to move on to the protein portion of our tacos. I chose to go with flank steak. I think it's the perfect cut of meat to make a really delicious taco, and it's really easy to work with. And the flank steak is super lean, which is perfect because we're going to top our tacos with green chili hollandaise. So the hollandaise is going to bring that richness and that fatty flavor, and it pairs really well with a lean meat like this. And the flank steak is fairly cheap as well, which is perfect when you're trying to feed a large crew. And if you're using flank steak like I am, you're going to clean it up really well and get off any silver skin that won't break down when we go to cook it. And you need to clean off any of that hard fat that you can't eat as well. Now that you have all of your meats cleaned up, you're going to season it really well with some coarse ground kosher salt. Don't be too shy when it comes to salting your meats. You're going to lose quite a bit of the salt on your tray before you throw it in your pan, and some of it is also going to fall off in your pan. It's better to season it now because some of the meat is going to soak up that salt, as where if you season it later on, it's going to fall off and not work as well as it would right now. The next thing we're going to season our meat with is some fresh cracked black pepper. You can go fairly light with your pepper. Now that we have our meat seasoned, you're going to grab your favorite pan that's large enough to hold your size of meat. and you're gonna throw it over medium to high heat and add a neutral tasting oil that has a high smoke point. And we're gonna get our pan ripping hot. Now that our pan is smoking hot, we're gonna drop our meat into our pan, and you wanna lay the meat away from you. This way, if any oil splashes up, it'll go away from you and won't come at you, and you're not gonna run away scared, and it won't burn you. It's really important to use really hot oil in a hot pan when you first drop your meat, because we wanna get that nice, even, hard sear on it. You're gonna cook this first side until you get that nice crust, that brown, golden color on your meats. Then you're gonna flip it over and repeat the same exact process on the other side. Then you're gonna cook your meat till the desired doneness of your choice. And a little pro tip for you, if your pan is all buble and juices and hot oils going everywhere, then throw a shield on it to keep all that in the pan. Now that we got that nice brown sear on our meat, we're gonna flip it over and repeat the same process as we did before. The best way to accomplish this sear is to do it over medium high to high heat. Once you get that nice hard sear on your meat, you can crank it down to about a medium to finish the cooking process. And the best way to tell if your meat is done by degrees is to throw your thermometer in the thickest part of your meat to get your reading. Now that our steak is done, we're gonna finish it by basting it in some homemade confit garlic butter. This is totally extra and bougie. Now that our steak is done, we're gonna let it rest for about 5 to 6 minutes. It's really important to always let any protein rest like this. This way the protein has time to relax and reabsorb all of the juices from the cooking process. Now the last and final thing we need to do is make our green chili hollandaise. And we're gonna cheat and make this in a food processor. When making cheater hollandaise like this, the hot butter is gonna cook your egg yolks, and the acid from your lemon juice will also cure, which is a form of cooking, will also cook your egg yolks. Now that you have your hollandaise done, you're gonna throw it in a thermal cup like this to keep it warm. And also, here's another little method to keep your hollandaise warm, is to throw it in a pot with some water and a strainer to prevent the cup from touching the bottom of the pot, and cranking your heat onto a low to low medium to keep it nice and warm. Now that our steak is done resting, we're gonna cut it. It's really important to cut against the grain when it comes to steak. This way you get a nice tender piece of meat every time. So figure out which way the grain is going and cut the opposite way. Now that our meat is done resting, you're gonna grab your smallest knife and start to cut slices of meat so we can assemble our tacos. I cut my slices into about a 1/4 inch thickness. I recommend cutting only enough meat for one taco at a time. This way your meat can stay whole and still absorb all the juices. Now that everything's done, it's time to fully assemble our taco. So grab your favorite plate, warm up your flour tortilla, and start to build your little taco. There's no right or wrong way to assemble this, and I'm gonna drizzle some of our green chili hollandaise right on top. And we're gonna throw some pickled red onion right on top. After we throw on our pickled red onions, we're gonna throw on some of our crispy and crunchy fried potatoes. Now that our taco house is fully built, we're gonna garnish it with some greenage. You can totally skip this and just straight dig in, but no matter what you do, just enjoy.
Alright, now that our tacos are done, let's give them the old taste-a-roo. By just looking at them, they look super tasty. Whoa, there's a ton of different colors. There's that nice light color from our tortilla, then our meat got that nice hard sear on it, then the potatoes on top are nice and golden brown, and then that parsley adds a little bit of greenness to pop, and then that pickled red onion also adds that pop of color as well. They look super delicious, and I can't wait to try them. All the ingredients themselves are super tasty, but combined make a really bomb tasting taco. We get a faint hint of garlic from our tortilla, and then that caramelization that we get on our meats adds a little bit of flavor as well. Then basting our meat with that garlic butter adds even more garlic flavor, which is super tasty. Then that green chili hollandaise adds a ton of richness and fat to the taco and adds the faint hint of green chili, or some spice I should say. Then the pickled red onions on top add that onion flavor and add that acid to help cut through the richness of the hollandaise and the richness of the meat itself. And then the fried crispy potatoes on top add that caramelization flavor as well, and fried potatoes are always super delicious. Then texture wise, our tortilla is nice and soft, our meat is super tender, then the hollandaise adds a little bit of creaminess, and then we get a little bit of crunch from our pickled red onions, then we get a ton of crunch from our fried potatoes. So overall, flavor wise and texture wise, they're really, really tasty. So yeah, you should make them. Alright, that's it for today's video. This recipe was a lot of fun to make. Even though it's a ton of work and it's a bit of a cooking marathon, in the end, it's totally worth it. And this is one of those dishes that'll make you a better cook at the end of the day for a few different reasons. You see a ton of different technique and method for just in this one dish. So maybe you've never pickled your own red onions, so you're learning how to do that, or you're honing your skills on making flour tortillas. It's one of those dishes that makes you that much better in the kitchen. And it'll show you how to cross-utilize ingredients so you're not wasting anything. And it'll show you that you can be creative by using different ingredients from different recipes to make up your own dish. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching. I got a ton of dishes to put away, even though I don't really want to. I don't know what else to say into the camera, so I guess I'm just gonna go now. So we'll see you in the next one. Tacos! Tacos! Super bomb taco. I almost said burrito. And it'll help let you itch your eye because you're mad. Alright, now that our tacos are done, let's go. We're not going anywhere. We're gonna taste them is what we're gonna do. Maybe you're gonna learn a new technique. Create your own dish and show you that you can use a lot of different things from different recipes to make your own stuff and do the stuff and all that good stuff.